What we care about is what we saw last night, what we saw yesterday afternoon. 2 Game 7s, neither particularly competitive. The nightcap was over at the half. And it was and I don't know, you have to be kind of West Coast to have experienced it, where they play the game, they do the post-game show, which is awesome. There's a bunch of commercials, then they replay the game. And for me, somebody who I was coaching in the afternoon, and then I had a couple other little things to do, like I was keeping an eye on and then all of a sudden I turn it on and wait, what? The Phoenix Suns had 27 points at the half. Luka Doncic had 27 points at the half. The game was not competitive at all. There was, you know how in the NBA, like, everybody makes a run. You know what didn't happen in that game? The Suns didn't make a run. And there's a lot to it, and we'll break it down. There's a bunch of places I want to begin. But let me start with this. You had to have experienced Larry Bird to understand Larry Bird. And what happens is when you compare players of different eras, there are many people who want to be very, very specific about comparisons. Well, you're comparing, dad. Okay, the sport has fundamentally changed. Fundamentally changed. So the amount of ball handling done by your best players, and that, by the way, we'll get to another big take we have. But if you lived through the Larry Bird era, what you're watching from Luka Doncic is as close as we have had. Okay? Now, there are no racial components to this statement, even though it'll be made into having racial components. This is why radio is the best medium there is, because I get plenty of time to tell you exactly what I think and back it up with facts. Predominantly, stars in the NBA are black men. Are we okay with that? There is no racial component to it. There is no loaded up, okay? There's no racial bias. I'm just, as an observer of the NBA, as a former player in college and professional basketball, but even a person who's blind can see that the NBA is predominantly black men, right? And I would say African-American men, but that's not even fair because there are black men from France, from parts of Africa, like Cameroon, like Joel Embiid, right? I could go around and predominantly black men. And while the numbers of black men and percentages have increased over the years, the fact is that Larry Bird during his time would even say basketball is a black man's sport. I'm not getting into the racial components of it. I'm taking one of the great players of all time's word for it. So when Larry Bird came into the NBA, okay, he was seen as, well, I don't know, is he really, really skilled, could really shoot, could really pass. Not sure if he's athletic enough, but boy, he could talk some ish. His team previously saw, now, though they didn't win a national championship, if you knew what was around him at Indiana State and what Indiana State was before he got there and after he got there, you would understand that guy was seen as a winner. Then he gets to the Boston Celtics, and immediately they go from, I think they won like 29 games or something the year before and 61 his first year. But more than anything, it's walking into a sport, walking into the NBA as a person with white skin. That's it. Okay? Being questioned because of the speed and athleticism, how you play the game. Talking ish right back at the opponent. Making big shots. Being an unbelievable passer and competitor. Being a little bit better than you think defender. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Larry Bird was Michael Cooper. Okay, but Larry Bird was a pretty damn good defender and a great rebounder. But it's more dominating and controlling a game. That's what the absolute best do. That's what LeBron James does. That's what Magic Johnson did. That's what Larry Bird did. That's what Michael Jordan did. But Michael Jordan was a little different because his control of the game for a good portion of his career wasn't like the players now, although systems were different then. But they definitely, he was the focal point of every offensive set and series. But the ability to make every pass, to feel like you could make every shot, to do so without being fleet of foot, to do so with kind of a cockiness, arrogance, but confidence that is infallible, to raise your team, whatever team you're on, to greater heights than previously discovered, that was Larry Bird. That's Luka Doncic. This is not a slight at the rest of that roster, okay? Because I think Jalen Brunson's a winner, a hell of a player. Okay? I love the Spencer Dinwiddie story. Spencer Dinwiddie's mom went to Cal. Okay, my brother was an assistant at Cal. They looked at him and saw him and passed on him several times over. He would have crawled to Cal from Taft High School. Would have crawled to it. It goes to Colorado, has a very good career, tears his knee in his last college game, bounces around the NBA. He was a big part of the Nets kind of culture change. Gets shipped off, and what do you have, 21 at the half? 21 at the half. So I'm not saying that Spencer Dinwiddie's a bad player. Jalen Brunson's not a stud player. Like, yeah, good dudes. But let's be honest. That roster does not scare anybody except for one dude. And Luka, of course, won with Real Madrid. Luka won a Euro Cup with Slovenia. By the way, Luka's Slovenian national team coach was then the coach of the Phoenix Suns when they could have drafted him, and instead they drafted DeAndre Ayton. All of this stuff happened. But we tried to make Kobe Jordan. We did. We tried to make Kobe Jordan. And you know what? He wasn't Michael Jordan. He just wasn't. He was as close as we've ever seen to Jordan since Jordan. Right? We then tried the comparison of LeBron James. LeBron is more like Magic than he is like Jordan. But we have never had another Larry Bird. And yeah, I do think the color of his skin, it's different. It's like avoiding it is stupid. Doesn't make you a racist to go like, he's the first guy with white skin to be able to dominate the league like this. He has. And there's the similarities of, dude, he's an unbelievable passer. He's a crazy shot maker. He's talking to the crowd. He's talking to the other team. They talk to him. He talks back. Go back and watch the Larry Bird Living Legend video. Right? There's the famous one where Xavier McDaniel is guarding him and they call timeout right before the end of the game. And Larry tells him, I'm going to catch it right here and I'm going to score it in your face. And he does so. And then he's mad at himself. And he goes, I didn't mean to leave any time on the clock. That was a real story and there's video to back it up. Do you know the only guy I've ever seen who might do the same thing, who kind of sort of feels like Larry Bird is? Luka Doncic. So I don't know if they'll beat the Golden State Warriors. I got the Warriors winning the whole thing. Okay? And it's hard to find a comp for Steph because I do think he's not only a one of one, but the way basketball is played and the way he plays, that hasn't been done before. I know that Luka style-wise is different than Bird, that the 6'7" small forward is now the dominant ball-handling wing, whereas Larry Bird was 6'10", be like, well, he didn't handle the ball as well. Like, they didn't handle the ball as much. But Larry was an incredible passer, rebounder, shooter, scorer, did it all, and did it without ever blowing by a guy. Just understood that basketball is not always a game of speed and quickness. It's a game of start and stop. But when I watched Luka completely and utterly eviscerate a very good, and we'll get to how good the Suns actually were, a very good Phoenix Suns team, thought to myself, I understand that he was born in Slovenia, not in Terre Haute, Indiana. I know that his family dynamic is different. I know that the style of which basketball is different. I understand that. But if you just kind of release yourself from the have to be exact comparisons of the world, and you're just honest and real with yourself, you'll go, Luka's the closest thing we've had to Bird since Bird. And when we had Bird and Magic, and then Barkley, and Ewing, and Jordan, the sport was at its absolute peak. I think that's there for the league. But I think one reason it's there is that guy reminds a lot of people, myself included, of Larry freaking Legend. What a night last night. What an absolutely great night.